Hello and welcome, I am Raziel and today I am talking about is it worth it and are Imperial Knights worth it? Imperial Knights are a nice army. It's not very few models, it's big models, and there's a few quite a big range. You go from the Armigers, which is about just a bit bigger than the Dreadnought, all the way up to the Battle Titan, with the Warlord Battle Titan on Forge World for those that wish to take out a mortgage for their models. Now, I want to make this as fair and as even as possible, so I've developed the Space Marine Standard on value for money. Now, the value for basically this is the HORUS Heresy I am talking about today, but it can be applied to 40k as well, but I want to just stick with HORUS Heresy because it's easier for me, and it's a game I prefer to play over 40k. Now, the Space Marine Standard is basically taking one Space Marine and how many points per pound that one Space Marine is. For HORUS Heresy, that is 4 points per pound. For 40k, it is 4.8 points per pound. That's with a basic standard intercessor. No extras, no bits and pieces, basic bolt gun, Space Marine, okay? There you go, that's the standard, and that's the standard it's worth sticking to because they are frequent, they are common, and you're going to see them all around, especially for HORUS Heresy, them being the biggest guys. Now, let's start with the Armigers, or the War Talons for HORUS Heresy. Now, this is probably the best value for money model you're ever going to buy. It's £55 for two, and they're 200 points each. And that's both Halverine and Warglaive. And that straight away is 7.27 points per pound. That is an incredibly high number. That is one of the best. HORUS Ascended is 1,000 points. This also means they're a troop choice as well, so you can take loads and loads of them. And any Space Marine army, to hit the point value of yours, will have to pay 1.5 times as much money as you would do if you just did pure Armigers. So that's pretty damn good, So that's your Armigers. Next we'll look at Christorus Knights. Christorus Knights, we're going to stand at the 385 points per pound. 385 points standard. This is before anything else. So this is before any extra weapons. This is your basic standard Christorus Knight. Okay, there you go. That's all it is. No added extra bits and pieces, because if we add those, we can bring this up to more points than a Cerastus. But Cerastus has 3 different styles, and that's basically it. So basically, 385 points per pound, because that's £105. It's not too bad. It's 4 points per pound, just under. It's 3.6 recurring points per pound. So it's basically a little bit lower than a Space Marine, given the value of money of the Armiger, your basic troop choice, meaning that can easily offset having more of a need. So having to do with these could easily, you'd basically be still better off in a Space Marine army at this point. This is your Games Workshop Christorus Knights, by the way, not the HORUS Heresy ones. Now, Cerastus Knights come in 3 flavours. I mean, they look good. You've got the Archeon, the Castigator, and of course the Lancer. The Lancer is 400 points per pound, but that is £120. Actually brings it down a little bit. It's actually quite, it's not so severe. It's about 3.5 points, I believe, per pound. I am actually I'm double checking the maths while I'm here, by the way. Yeah, 3.3 recurring. So it's a lower than a Space Marine. Now, being this is just, the Armigers are 1.75 times better than a Space Marine. And this is like 75% of a Space Marine. You would have to get at least 4 Armigers to make up a decent comparison price when your Space Marine players. And this does get worse because I believe it is let's double check this one. The Castigator Knight, it is £120, is also 385, and that brings it down even lower than that. So that brings it down to 3.2. And honestly, this is the sort of thing I was thinking about, okay, that if I was to start a 40, well, I am starting one, I would go Christorus Knight first because it's better value for money, and get a Castigator second, which would allow me, because I've already got Armigers anyway, I've got 6 Armigers, which would allow me to still save money on a Horus Heresy army compared to a Space Marine army because of how much better value the armigers are. And then you got the better value of the Crestodorus Knight, and then get a Castigator or a Cerastus Knight last, because that is where the biggest price sink is per pound, point per pound value. Point per pound is really difficult to say, just so you know. So that's the Cerastus Knights and the Crestodorus. So that's your 40k from Games Workshop. And there isn't just Games Workshop, of course there is Forge World. Now Forge World is obviously a lot higher, but luckily it's not so bad. With two of them, the Crestodorus Knights, they're £151 each. They are 50% more expensive than, the normal one, and about the same points as well. So we are hitting this about 3 points per pound again. I think it's actually a little worse than that. It's 2.6 points per pound. I mean, it's a lot lower than a Space Marine, and it doesn't really make me want to go out to get a Majira or a Styx when, I will be getting better value from the plastic ones. And I know people go, well, it's Forge World, it's resin, it's going to cost more. But honestly, if I wanted to give good advice, it would always be, because if you're going to spend your money wisely, you have to do what's going to do a better army and have it at a lower cost. And of course, the plastic ones at that. Now, the Asterius and the Porphyrion are not that much better. They're about 600 points and 625 points, and they really do not do well against this, because at 400 points apiece, they are really, these were horribly low. They were like 1.5 points per pound, which is incredibly low for an army, and that's not just that's any army. To have a points value at that is really, really bad. I don't think even Imperial God hit that sort of level of low. Let's think 10 points per model, £20, 200 points for £20. Yeah, that's just a little bit better than an Imperial Guardsman. And that's not good. Not for a model, like a Porphyrion, and you're spending 400 points on, £400 on, So, when it comes to Forge World, it really, it looks good, I gotta say, and it looks nice. But when it comes to that, if you're thinking about your pocketbook, you're thinking about how much money is in your account, and you want to get a decent sized army for the best value of money, Forge World is probably not going to be your answer, and it gets even worse. It really does. The Warhound Titan, which is a nice looking model, which is 420 for its base model, which I don't like, by the way, and it's 52 for the weapons. So let's be nice and say £525 for it altogether, and it is 1.4 points per pound. That is, again, it is incredibly low, and the Reaver's the same. The Reaver at was it again, it's because honestly it's the idea that you have to buy the guns separately. Now the Warhound Titan, luckily you only have to buy the two guns. The Reaver Titan, you have to buy 2 guns and the rocket pod for its basic stance, and again that is 1.4 points per pound, and that's at a £900 model at 1500 points. It does get a little bit better with the Warlord Titan, the big guy. He's about £1,500 on his own, but you have to buy his heads, his shields, his guns. Jeez, I tell you, that's the thing I don't like. You got to buy so much for it at 3,000 points, so he's about 2 points per pound. So the thing about if you're going to do Imperial Knights is that it's very, very polarizing with the value for money. The Armigers and the Crestodorus Knights from Games Workshop is where the best value for money is. And again, this is based on the points value. If, let's say, some of those, like the Warhound Titan, was a 1,500 point model, that actually ends up being on par with the Crestodorus Knights. But the Warhound Titan is a 750 point model, So why would I couldn't see why I would spend that much money on that when I can get, 750 points for a lot less. Half the price. And that's where I would put my money. I'd put my money on 2 Christos Knights rather than the Warhound Titan. Yes, the Warhound Titan does have bigger guns. It has better weapons. But you're basically bigging it up with more weapons and more firepower from the Christos Knights, let alone what you can add on top. So there you go. So if you give a Christos Knight a let's get this right, a Thunderstrike Gauntlet, which is going to hit a strength 12, it's going to wound it on a 2+. That's a glancing, and a penetrate on a 3+, and it's going to bypass the void shields anyway, so it's not going to be much of an issue for a Christos Knight to do some severe damage to a Warhound Titan in close combat. I mean, it's got to get there, but, it can. So, it makes me think the Warhound Titan might not be worth getting. If I can just get 2 Christos Knights and have them fight a Warhound, it wouldn't be such a severe battle for me. Anyway, thank you very much for watching. What do you think of the Knights? Do you think they're worth money? Do you think Forge will need to up their points a little bit to make them a little bit more worth it? Or are you happy with the points cost as they are? That's about it. Thank you very much for watching. I hope you enjoyed this video. And we'll see how this goes and hope it does well. Thank you very much for watching. Have a great day. Link to Wayland Games down below if you wish to save money on your Warhammer, up to 20% off and free delivery after £20. There is Forbidden Planet for your comics, your plushies, your toys, everything nerdy and geeky, which I love. And I don't know what else to say. There you go. And there is my merchandise, comics, t-shirts, cups, everything else, all 40k and horror related. All done by me, or my artwork, and some digital stuff. And of course there is Patreon. But as always, guys, treat yourself to something nice rather than just giving me money. And I'll see you all again soon. Thank you very much for watching. Have a great day. And I'll see you all again soon. Bye-bye.